Hi everybody, this is Dom Turchi. By now the compilation of the Marble Blast Gold Intermediate scripted TASes have been released by Matan, and this right here is going to just be a as quick as I can and concise as I can a video kind of going over a little bit on what scripted TASing is and stuff tweaks that were found throughout the 24 intermediate levels. So to start, I'd like to just very briefly talk about what a scripted TAS is. Basically, HiGuy has a tool he created. It takes a scripting language that converts a script into the rec format, which is basically a playback format in Marble Blast Gold. And basically what I TAS, a script looks just like this. It's actually really straightforward. The game runs at 1000 FPS, so a frame is one millisecond, and a move frame is you doing something. So you're either doing something or not. And so if you use a move frame, you have your cameras. This is your X-axis, your Y-axis. This is X-axis rotations. This is like you using arrow keys. And this is a Y rotation. So basically, this right here says I'm turning counterclockwise, and this is north east. So I would rotate upright, and the marble will spin upright. And then if you're not moving and you just list a certain number of frames, it's just going to continue doing those actions unless you specify not to, which is what this section right here looks like. So this is do the action for one frame and then basically stop turning is what this says. This is do a quick a snap and then stop turning. Otherwise, it will continue rotating northeast or upright or however you want to say. And that's helpful for like these kind of turns where I'm only doing smaller turns over a period of time. And that's really just it. I just find the frames and find the rate of turn that's the fastest humanly possible, or leads to the fastest possible time, and go from there. So I have created a bunch of, we don't need this anymore. I've recorded everything in 720p because my computer won't let me record stuff in 1080p. And we'll just kind of briefly talk about, I'll show the run, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of the small things. We'll go from there.
Ready, set, go! Time travel. Time travel. Time travel.
Okay. It's 2.321 was the catch. This level actually took a little bit of time because I hadn't really put any time into messing with something called IC manipulation or internal clock manipulation, where basically, you know, the TAS is run at 1000 FPS, which has its advantages, but in many cases it's actually worse to be doing something at 1000 FPS because it'll either be too fast or you'll fall different rates. So what's interesting is like pretty much no one, I don't think anyone actually consistently comes close to 1000 FPS. The world record holder is Xelna, and he typically runs closer to like 500 FPS, and his run came within 3 milliseconds of my original TAS, and a lot of that actually has to do with his internal clock at the start. Interestingly enough, at 500 FPS, I found that if you purposely delay your start, and you'll see that I actually bounce at like 0.035. For some reason, it saves 5 milliseconds, 0.005, to be not at 1000 FPS, to be at 500 FPS, and to have a start at exactly 35 milliseconds into the runs when I jump. I jump 35 milliseconds late from a frame perfect start. The rest of the route is actually something Blasted found. It's fairly concise. You kind of do this weird edge hit and you got to roll into it. I found that if you get the TT from the time travel from the side for the catch, you got faster times because you didn't spend as much time turning, which slows you down. And the rest of it's just kind of TAS stuff.
Ready, set, go! Super speed. Super speed. Super speed. Super speed. Super speed. Super speed.
Cool. So 13.112 was the time. Basically, really this is just an optimization level. Now I think I actually put the most time into this level. It was something like 70 hours of work or something obscene. And I know Nature Freak asked in the Discord, you know, why not use like a slope start? And interestingly enough, I found none of the slope starts to actually be faster. The closest slope jump start that looked good was KallePerks, where you roll after the slope jump, but it was still slower than just jumping. I think a lot of that's because you need to turn and you got to go up a slope to begin with, and a lot of those slope starts are fast because they manipulate spin, but your spin just kind of gets wacky from the start. And from there, it's just kind of like optimizing diagonals, and it's really, you know, that's just a straight diagonal where I'm rotating up right, and I turn up left the rest of the stage at this point. So it was really just optimizing diagonals, but it took forever to do.
Ready, set, go!
Cool, 17.301, yep, 301. This is a really fun one. I think Xelna gave me, I say Xelna weirdly, by the way, just FYI, it's just how I say it. He gave me a, the tweak over here, yeah, over here. So this whole thing to go on the top of the ramps was his tweak. But I found some really neat stuff about it where if I natural bounce this first one, I can just forward edge hit these. Now natural bounces, they're slower. They're slower than just straight up edge hits because a natural bounce messes with your spin. It kind of does this weird spin resetting thing where it will slow you down. And each of these edge hits is like 0.2 faster than just natural bouncing all of this. But the big problem was that I had way too much spin, so I was forced to do this wall hit, and my spin's actually still wonky. I have to natural bounce this just to get in the good edge hit right here. The only other things of note about this stage were this start was the only start that I found that gave me the best. You know, I don't even think I could with one jump get in at least at 1,000 FPS, hit the bed, the pool, the bed or the pool, whatever, the skate rink, whatever, because I would just go over it and hit the wall. And then each of these gem grabs are rotating down right or southeast and turning left or counterclockwise. And so those are actually pretty big optimizations where I save a reasonable amount of time over Zedron. But those are like the big things that save time. These ramps save like a full second. It's just a ton of time. And then the ending is basically ties the normal ending. But you need to maintain, otherwise it's slow, right? So that's Skate Park. Matrix is a lot less interesting, truthfully. I'm just going to talk with this one. There's really not a lot going on. It's just Zedron's run was fantastic, and it's just a matter of just getting these crazy gem grabs. They're all basically frame perfect. This ramp matrix is crazy. I'll talk a little bit about that. There's two small tweaks, two very small tweaks. One of them's over here. where I technically, this is technically a forward edge hit. The marble should go more this way. But I use a forward edge hit so that I can get the right spin that I want in order to get this really, the lowest possible wall hit from the super jump that I could. And this ending is actually slightly faster. It saves 0.2, but I basically bounce right here, like right on the edge of the slope starting, and it kind of pushes the marble this way instead of out. Normally you'd have to like natural bounce this, which I think is what Zedron does. But this manipulated my spin where I don't need a natural bounce, and like I said, natural bounces usually lose some time because it messes with the spin of the marble. So I saved time here by not natural bouncing the last gem.
Ready, set, go!
This is something that Happy Tree X1 found, 8.209. I'm not like the most happy with this run, because the trap launch just looks so weak. But basically, I did the Kalle tweak, or Kalle tweak, and it is faster. It saves like 0.1 or something like that. And then I went for this ultra low bounce so that I can just like barely activate this. And you have to bounce this. You cannot roll into this trap launch because you'll just bounce off the yellow moving platform. So you have to jump into it, but it's really, really, really hard. The only way I found to actually be able to get out was to be jumping while I'm doing the trap launch. It's just so volatile. And even then, the marble really wants to go like towards the start, so you have to turn really hard just to be able to finish. I do not believe this is viable. There's an alternate route that I found that I'm hoping Matan puts into the bloopers, which is probably humanly viable and is a tweak that I got from Nockess. That's hoops. Go for the green. There's not much to say either. I'm just going to talk while doing it. Basically, all of this right here is Nature Freak's run. This with the wall slide mechanics, it gets really trippy, and this is where an instance where IC manipulation, I just couldn't figure out what was optimal. So I basically just whittled down the start so that the start was a frame perfect jump. And then this is all like Nature Freak's actual turning in his run. The script is really, really, really ugly. I mean, it's really, really ugly. I'll actually show you. It's comical how it's my worst looking script because I was so lazy with it. I just couldn't find the optimal. What is this? This is the rec. I couldn't find the optimal IC in order to get the fastest wall slide you could. So I was just so lazy, and it's just kind of like, this is literally just what Nature Freak's run looks like. It's just tons and tons and tons of this just move frames because every individual camera move is like every, it looks like he was running on Mac at about 166 FPS. Way I can tell is that these move frames are 10, 5, 7. That's an average of 7 divided by thousands, roughly, 160, 170. So just, but basically around this point is where the TAS actually kicks in, and it optimizes just some movement things so that I don't go on the slopes anymore, because more slopes seem to slow me down, and it just gets the best finish that I can. Sorry, not more slopes, more slides seem to slow me down. So not really a large improvement. Also not a large improvement is this fork in the road. It was similar to Jump Jump Jump, where I ended up it's all of the time save that you can get, which is only 5 milliseconds over Stewman's run. It's really just related to the ceiling slide. Again, it can slow you down or not. And I ended up just running it myself, and I think I got like a 7.98, and I used that start. I also had Xelna's rec and Stewman's rec, and I had the better IC for the start, so I just used my run. I think 8X might be out there somewhere, but it's just a needle in the haystack finding the right IC manipulation. not fun to grind either.
Ready, set, go!
So, tri-twist, 18.892. Jeez, I forgot my own time. A lot going on here. This is my last task that I did. I was slightly sloppy with it, but not really, just because these tricks are pretty precise. The first thing, I did optimize the start pretty heavily, and it's very difficult to get up here. But I will say that if you're going to go for this tweak that Cobalt found, and you do even just get up this very first section and can get the edge hit, even that saves a boatload of time over what Zedron did. And then I did a little tweak over what Cobalt's task was, where I forward edge hit right here. Basically gave me more forward momentum. And then I put a bit of time. So all of this like edge hitting stuff, it's really precise. So I didn't put too much time or effort into kind of like frame whoring it. But I did make sure I got this wall hit good, because it kind of dictates how fast you are. Basically, I'm rotating northeast, but I want to rotate northwest at this point. So I want to overturn so that I can start turning northwest so that I can get this marble to the left. And I do barely just get this, it's not this marble, this gem. I do barely just get this gem. And then this wall hit is also pretty optimized. I purposely grabbed this gem from back here. It really doesn't make any difference, because one thing you'll learn when you're TASing is that falling, like in the real world, is very, very consistent, and there's nothing you can do during it. So basically, I'm going to bounce. There's nothing I can do about it. The way I reduce my bounce height is by having the tightest, lowest possible height from the initial wall hit over the ledge. And so I'm going to bounce no matter what, and I'm going to always bounce the same height. So I just wanted to maximize my momentum so that when I get this edge hit, I can get as much speed out of it as possible and maintain momentum. So the way that I did that was by releasing WASD, and then otherwise, I would release WASD and then I re-triggered it, whatever, I guess WA, fairly soon after. Otherwise, I would just completely go over the gem. Now, I did spend a good chunk of time. Almost all my time was actually into tweaking and optimizing this section. And for the most part, it's nothing, you haven't seen before in, like, Cobalt's task. And even Zedron's run does this pretty cleanly. Something that Cobalt did that I stole that I'm fairly confident is faster is this kind of hit on where the slope starts. And it's really smart and nice to do, because I don't need to slow down at all during it. I actually just I'm holding WD throughout this whole thing. There's no backspinning, and it just lets me get also, what's weird is, like, you're getting these kind of like weird forward edge hits or something. I don't know, but sometimes just these slopes are just very bizarre. And then another tweak I had was just getting this crazy clean edge hit right on this corner right into the finish, and it saves a boatload of time. It's like 0.03 or something bonkers. Just on that one edge hit. But for the most part, all the time, it's Cobalt's tweak up here, some small modifications, and then really this whole section in the middle, you're just bound by the height of your bounces. There's not really too much you can do about it. And then I tweaked the bottom a lot, and I got sub 19, which is pretty cool to see.
Super bounce. Super speed.
Oh, Marbletris 4.603. Pretty darn happy with this one. This one was a very large process. It was Happy Tree X1's baby. He's obviously put, almost 100 hours into his world record run, which I think is like 4.970 at the moment. And basically, he tasked the heck out of it. So I did an initial task The big tweak here over the World Record Rampage 5 is this purple platform hit that Cobalt found. It's extremely precise and very, very difficult. It's also, you need to slow down and backspin to get that, and it's actually frame perfect because you basically have a 2-frame window where you'll be able to clear this slope, and the way you do that is by natural bouncing. So you have to natural bounce when you land, and then you can clear the slope. And there's only 2 frames that do it, and then only one of those 2 frames actually finishes because you hit this like this green trim. It's really stupid. You actually hit this green. And so it's really hard to have the right spin to be able to not get screwed over by this trim. And so I did it my first run. It was like a 4.699, and then Happy Tree X wanted me to try TASing the World Record Rampage 5 route, and I did, and I put a lot of time into that too, and then I realized that my super speed wasn't particularly good. It looks really bad because I'm just doing these sharp-ass camera turns, but it's the thing that I found that worked. And it just gave me more speed for the super speed, and it ended up saving like another 0.09, which is honestly kind of a ton for a 3-second level. And that's how that happened. Oh, don't blink for this one. Space slide 3.360. I'm going to say this is my route. I really don't care what anyone says. I know that Xelna used that mine for his 2-mine thing, but really that's the only similarity in the runs at all. Just the fact they use that mine. I do a slope jump, and then what's going on is I natural bounce onto the mines. And because I can manipulate IC, basically on these frames, that's a natural bounce, by the way. It's silly looking, but I am natural bouncing. On the frame that I hit the mine, I just dropped the FPS for exactly 1 frame down to like whatever 30 FPS is. In this case, I think it was more like 45 FPS because 30 FPS overshot me. And then I just, I natural bounce this one, land on it, and that's 30 FPS. And I accidentally found that I can land on this mine, and this is a 30 FPS mine hit. And it's just crazy fast. I love this. This isn't the biggest time save that I found, but in terms of like tweaks, I think this is the 2nd biggest tweak. I think that the skate park find saves more time technically, but it's hard to judge. But they both save about a second. I'm pretty proud of those 2 tweaks. Those are some of the bigger tweaks that I had. Skee ball bonus, nothing interesting. It's literally just optimizations. I'm even going to pause this one, actually, because it's not that interesting of a run, truthfully, in my opinion. So really all I found was that, turn less and kind of aim for this. And I wall slide and I get the time travel faster. But it's really hard to get a finish with that. As you can see, it's just super, super tight. You barely get the height. I kind of also do a lot of swag throughout all of this. Just silly, stupid stuff. One of the swag things I did because it's scripted TAS is I made it so that I literally finished with all my time bonus being used, which is 16 seconds.
Ready, set, go! Super jump. Gyrocopter. Super jump.
Cool. So Marble Playground. This is actually a route that's not featured in WR5. It's something that's featured in Xelna's Let's Play on Matan's channel. Really cool route. Unfortunately, similar to Grand Finale, it's bound by a moving platform. So basically, the start, if you noticed, is very weird because I jump extremely late, but a lot of that's just because I wanted to do that. I purposely started after go, when I initially tasked this, and I just cleanly ran all the way through the level up until the moving platform hit. And then I just kind of slowly incremented that down until I got to the moving platform on the frame that I wanted. And this was the fastest frame that I found, and it gave me these crazy, crazy, crazy ramp rate matrices and everything that I'm doing. It's just so clean looking. I'm actually really proud of how this task turned out, even though the start looks a little bit weird. And again, unfortunately, you know, I think my original task, I didn't actually delay it. I got to the moving platform like 0.8 or 0.9 faster or something than the next fastest task, which I think is Happy Tree X's Rewind. But I'm bound by the moving platform. You need the moving platform. One thing, a mechanic about moving platforms that some might not know, is that the direction that they go pushes the marble and gives it a boost in that direction. So by bouncing on an upwards moving platform, I get more jump height, and that was necessary in order to finish as fast as possible.
Ready, set, go! Gyrocopter.
Hop, skip, and jump. I think I did this in like a day. I originally tasked this, and I thought it was my tweak. It turns out it's actually something that is in Marble Blast Ultra. It's a Powerjohn pathway, and but I guess I don't know who gets credit for it, because you know, this game's been out even longer than Ultra, and I'm sure people have tried this. It's kind of hard to get underneath the beam. My original path just kind of like glided around the beam, and then Nockess gave me the idea, I guess because of the Marble Blast Ultra route and BU route, where, oh darn it, you can wall hit this. And the thing about the gyrocopter is it's just so slow it turns that it really likes snap camera movements. So you'll never see me TASing smooth camera turns. I always snap the camera turns with the gyros, because it's just so much slower to do anything otherwise. Like, there's a snap, and then I use the wall hit to finish as fast as possible. What's this one? Oh, take that route.
Set, go! Super jump.
Cool. I actually kind of like this one. This is a fun one. Which is great, because around the time, this is one of the last ones, and I was starting to get really burned out, so it was nice to do something that was kind of short, sweet, and fun. And, you know, the beginning, this I can guarantee this is basically maxed, because I can't do anything. This is the absolute latest I can natural bounce without hitting the slope at the speed I'm going. And so the rest of the time, it really was spent optimizing the angle for this edge hit. It's actually pretty neat what's going on. It's a tweak found by HTX where you hit the top of the trim and you jump off of it, and then you jump off the platform, and it looks really cool. I basically ramp matrix this gem. When you're normally doing this, if you're going to try to go for this, I do think it's humanly possible, but it's very tight. Getting this gem's pretty tricky. That's the hard part. And even then, once you get the gem, the marble's going to want to end up just left of the finish pad. So you really need to snap it hard right as fast as you can. And that's what this is doing. It's snapping it hard right as much as I can. This is literally the most I can go. If I'm even a single camera tick, and when I say single camera tick, I mean 0.00001 radians, which is like a fraction of a degree. If I go any more than that, the marble will miss this gem. So this is like a camera perfect gem grab, and that's as far as I can go. And I finish, and even then I'm still kind of finishing it around here on the finish pad. So cool tweak by HTX. Probably a big time save if someone can figure it out. How to do it. Half pipe, nothing I can really talk about, honestly. It was just doing everything I can in order to go fast and get a low grab and then finish. The way I did it was with like a natural bounce, because it's just too fast. It was hard. put a lot of time in this one too, and it was just, I hated this level. It was awful. Let's not talk about it.
Ready, set, go! Super speed.
Gauntlet. This actually ties Happy Tree's TAS. But one thing, there's a big discrepancy. Rewind oftentimes has issues when you do too many rewinds with things like platform movements, and his block just arrives earlier. But what I ended up doing for this TAS was I actually just stopped the marble here. Like literally the marble was stopped, and I use this to time when I can grab, or sorry, when I get to the block platform, similar to Marble Playground.
Super speed.
And you know, just maximize these camera angles so I'm as fast as I can. I will say that one thing that's really small is I do roll when I land for like a very small period, something like 10 milliseconds, but that roll must have done something to my spin because I could not do this tweak without it. I know Happy Tree X's TAS does the same thing, but basically when I rolled, you get this crazy, like I'm actually hitting, it's really bizarre. Like you hit basically the area where both the red trim that's right here, and this wall meet. And it doesn't even look like you hit the side of this wall, but you do. And then you hit the platform, and it needs to be kind of, you can't be too fast, because if you're too fast, when the marble gets to this platform, you'll just go sky high. You'll end up with a much more upwards trajectory, and you'll finish like right near the, if you finish near the finish line. I will say if you go for this tweak, there is you're probably going to want to go slower, and I know that's possible to finish if you just turn the marble like backwards and keep holding like WA or yeah, I think WA, no, WD. You want to keep holding WD. So you hold WD through the whole thing, and then instead of turning right, you turn left hard so you're facing the other direction. And you'll probably get a finish. And I know you can get like 8-4x finishes. This is actually a level where it might be humanly possible because it's just one incredibly precise trick. I think it's probably as precise as learning the super jump in the beginner levels. It's that kind of level of precision. Although the platform is moving this time, so I guess it's probably more precise. But the actual edge hits feel like it's that precise to me.
Ready, set, go! Time travel. Time travel. Super speed. Time travel. Time travel.
Moto-Marblecross. Big time save for such a short level. It's just a Kale tweak, or Kalle tweak, and this has some IC manipulation, where it's hard to see. I actually learned this from TASing Tornado Alley, because I'll go more in detail with that when I get to that level. But basically, I drop the frame rate when I release WASD, and it forces the marble to have like worse spin. But that's kind of good on mud because basically it made it so that I hit the mud as soon as possible, and that was important because one thing that I discovered in the beginner TASing levels is that if you roll for a very brief period of time after the end of the natural bounce, you gain even more speed, and it saves a lot of time. It's like 0.03 or something like that. So I basically found that it was better to drop the frame rate, which loses a couple milliseconds, so I can maximize for the optimal roll. And the roll is just enough where I can clear this little brick. And then the rest of it is, it's really just blasted marbles run, but I didn't like frame hort because there's no point. But I did want it to look fast, so. It's unfortunate too, because I actually had this really cool ending where the marble was like here, but I had so much backspin on it that it just plops on the mud and then just rolls back in the finish and grabs the gem. It was really cool looking, but I lost it in the abyss. I'm kind of sad about that. Not much to talk about this one. I'm just gonna... I mean, geez, DK's run's just really good. The only real thing I can add is that I used IC manipulation. I dropped the frame rate ever so slightly, and it for some reason gave me this like crazy close, you know, encounter with the wall that I missed, and then it saves one millisecond. So not much to talk about with that level. Oh, actually, I will say there was one something. Blasted marble. I'm sure others have tried the other direction, because there's a shock absorber on the other side. Interestingly enough, the level, even though it's symmetrical, the marble for some reason is more closer to the edge with this this direction. So going the other way loses a millisecond, which is kind of crazy because I discovered that after I already finished all the others. Well, I didn't discover it. I was told that I should try this by some people on Discord. Like, I think it was Nature Freak and or Doomblaw, one of the two. And I did try it and it ended up being 1 millisecond slower. So fortunately, I didn't have to tweak or do anything crazy. This is a fun one. Really like this one. Such a great pathway by Cobalt.
Time travel. Gyrocopter. Time travel. Super speed.
Cool. 8.747. Fortunately, I don't think there'll ever be a route where you can get all the gems without time restarting, but this is the fastest time travel catch that's been found, and that was found by Cobalt. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen someone say this looks humanly viable. I am very confident this is not a human viable route. I wish I could show you everything that's going on, but it's just, you have to try it and you'll understand. First off, this edge hit is disgustingly precise, and you need a lot of momentum to be able to clear this. And most of that has to do with how you jump here. So you need a lot of speed already in this direction so that when you bounce off the slope, it's not even a natural bounce. That's just a bounce off the slope. The marble goes this way, and this is actually a very, very precise slope jump just to be able to get these. And then on top of that, your run's just going to die in this section right here every single time. I literally, I want to see someone do it, but even if you do it, it's so difficult, and you're probably going to need to slow down. But basically, you need to bounce a certain height, because if you don't, you're not going to clear this. And this is actually a very precise forward edge hit. And then you need to roll and then jump right at the edge of this slope, because if you don't, the marble just doesn't go where you want it to go. And it's very difficult to clear this. Like, very, very, very difficult. Your runs are, if you even get up to this point, will probably bounce off this, and you'll lose a ton of time as you wait for this. And even then, you need to natural bounce this, and then do some crazy turns, and that's technically an edge hit, and then you got to do the rest of the run, and that's not exactly trivial either. Now, my tweak was this bad boy, and I'm really proud of this find. It saves like 0.3 or something like that. So that wasn't any tweak by me, but I'm just not convinced this is humanly viable in the pathway. It's humanly viable in the same sense that Xelna was able to do Cobalt's Monster Speedway route, but it was slower than current world record. I honestly feel like this is the same thing. Someone could possibly do this and accomplish it, but they're going to do it slower than the current world record. The Great Divide, there's a lot of waiting in it. Basically, Happy Tree X and I went to the labs on this one, and he initially tasked this with a crazy grab that was like 14.3, but he had this really high bounce that occurred, and then he did the normal route. Well, then we found out that Doomblaw got this really sick second launch that did this, and he finished it a run in like 14.87. So time still restarted for him. But what my contribution was that I went lower with this edge hit, and that way I can keep speed. Sorry, with this trap launch. So he just back up. When he did the trap launch, he went up, and then he hit this platform again. I went lower, which loses a little time, but I'm able to hold WA to this whole thing while he had to hold WD. I'm holding WD to the whole thing while he had to hold WA when he catches the time travel, because you have to catch it. And so I used this crazy edge hit, which I used to slow me down and steer me into the time travel, and it just barely works. Like, I just barely am able to use the sign to slide into the finish. It's so close and so precise. And it only saves like 0.05. So that's Great Divide. Next one. The Wave. A little, I think this runs almost kind of, I mean, the pathway is recognizable, but all the edge hits are like unrecognizable. Kind of cool. Basically, this was a tweak by Xelna, but the problem is it's just so fast that I can't do the cycle that DK Man had for his run. So I came up with this cool like edge hit where I edge hit it in a way where I still go out to grab the gem, and then I think I'm holding WA through that, and at some point switch to WD in order to finish. And this is actually an ending edge hit right here too. That's pretty important because it gives me a little boost into the finish. Saves like 0.01. It's not really a big deal, but it does save some time.
Ready, set, go.
So this is, as you probably are going to see, it's only 2 milliseconds faster than Nature Freak's time. And what's kind of mind-blowing is that the only reason that his run's literally frame perfect. Everything's perfect. His jumps on the first frame. He rolls the exact amount that he needs. His camera position's perfect. It's literally a perfect run. The only thing that's not good about it is his FPS, which is around 300, I think, or something like that. So he loses 2 seconds from not running at 1,000, or sorry, 2 milliseconds from not running at 1,000 FPS, but he gains a second back by having a lower frame rate as he releases WASD. And again, this is important because what it does is it allows the marble to hit the ground earlier and get spin faster. And again, I did this in Moto-Marblecross. Those are the only 2 levels where I employed this trick, because for the most part, it's in like longer levels that was hard to measure whether it saves or anything. And most often than not, this doesn't save time anyway. But here it saved one millisecond, which is easily measurable. And then I used that to save basically 0.2 overall to the run. But it's just such a miraculous run. I tried to find other time saves, but this feels like Elevator to me. Just not going to save any more time on that level. I think it's maxed.
Go! Super speed, super speed. Time travel. Super speed, super speed. Super speed. Super speed. Super speed. Time travel. Super speed. Super speed. Super speed.
Woo! This is probably going to be most people's favorite run, honestly. It's such a huge thing to see that it's possible to do this level without time restarting. So the start is a huge tweak that I found, where this is a camera perfect edge hit, and then you have to natural bounce this when you land in order to grab these, and then it's such a tight turn. Now the rest of the route is Cobalt's baby. It is such a beautiful route, and he did fantastically with it. Even with the scripted tasks over the rest of the run, I think I only saved like 0.1, which is a lot because this is actually the sorry, that's not a lot because this is actually the longest run in intermediate. It's like a 29-second run or something like that. So to only save 0.1, and a lot of that I'm sure is like FPS because I'm running at 1,000. That's just absolutely phenomenal. The big time save was just getting this wall hit just perfect. And I hardly slow down, and it saves like 1.2 seconds or something. That's all the difference. It's all the difference between me and Cobalt's time. Because as you can see, I finished with 3 milliseconds left of bonus time. And there's not much left. There's some optimizations at the end that might be able to save like milliseconds, but who cares? You know, I got time to not restart, and that's all I cared about.
Ready.
And our finale,
Go.
which I like more than Grand Finale. Like a lot more.
Super speed. Super speed. Time travel. Time travel. Super speed. Super jump. Time travel. Super jump.
Cool. There's some things going on. First off, I just kind of messed up the beginning. I remember when I first showed this to Xelna, he was just like, why didn't you start rolling at the start? That's a great question, and I don't have a good answer. But the thing is, it really ends up not mattering because I have to slow down anyway to make this jump. You really don't, like, how hard you hit this determines how high you are. You don't want to be too high because that's obviously slow. So I got just enough height where I can land on the super speed, and basically the next frame, yeah, I could do something where called, like, I like to call them super speed flicks. They're scripted task thing where literally the marble actually, the screen actually turns forward, so this is directly in front of me for just one frame, and I snap back. And it's typically, I found that to not be good to do it so soon because I got these really low these low, like, so when you do it this early, you can get 3 jumps, but it's hard to like get anything out of that with without enough speed because you end up rolling a lot, and rolling is really slow because the speed you get into the loop here kind of really just dictates everything on your catch. So I found in Cobalt, he in his task jumped right here, and I tried and I couldn't get it to work, and eventually I finally got it to work where I jump and then super speed, very important, and then you can hold jump through the loop. And it just sounds ridiculous. Like, listen to that. I jump like 9 times. And getting this grab is just so hard. It turns into like a reverse trap launch where you really need to like hit this edge, and I end up hitting this edge too. It doesn't really matter, but just to be able to control the marble. And the rest is just some swag I did since this is the very last level. I purposely make it so I'm facing backwards for everything. No one would ever do that. And I do, you know, a thing that some people do with their TASes with rewind, because in rewind you can control the camera in post. So I actually lose time from doing this when they don't. And then this is really cool. And I just threw it in just to anyone who is familiar, like, to the little nuances of this game, know that when you end the level, the marble keeps spinning. And scripted tasks is, I don't have to do that. There's a thing called scope, and basically it's something that is implemented in the game and implemented in Hi Guy's script. but there's no way for a player to utilize it. But basically what it does is it just completely freezes the marble. And so on the very last frame of the run, I completely freeze the marble so that it just kind of zooms in on the marble. And you can get just this a really cool, without the stupid console there, just this really cool ending that I almost hope that Matan uses as like the thumbnail or something like that. I just gave him his thumbnail basically for free with this right here. Oh, sorry for that. But yeah. So feel free to leave any comments for any questions. Let me know if I got anything wrong in the video. Most of these tweaks are pretty darn TAS only. A lot of work from Happy-Tree-X, X1, Cobalt. Great tweak ideas from Nock, Xelna, some small route updates like Blasted, and just to kind of show off this is a thing that I made mostly for Matan's use, but it just gives credit to everyone, and like I said, special thanks to Matan, Hi Guys, Xelna, Happy Tree, Cobalt, Azek Blasted, Nockess, DK Man, and Anson. Anson made the marble. And overall, this saves 15.594 over current world records. But I think this is like 16.9 and some change for time save against world record Rampage 5. So thank you for watching, and until next time.